Howdy, friends, fellow hunters and outdoor enthusiasts. Welcome back to In the Wild Outdoors with Brenn and Jesse. I am co-host, singer-songwriter, big game hunter, and sometimes hunting guide Brenn Hill of Hooper, Utah, here with co-host, bush pilot, hunting guide, horseman, owner-operator of Saddlehorn Outfitters, Jesse Tatman of Daniel, Wyoming. And we are excited once again to bring you stories and real-time insight on all things pertaining to the West, and particularly big game hunting. This is In the Wild Outdoors. Jesse, brother, you just have the greatest friends. They're all sort of legends like you. We got another legendary guy here, guide and outfitter. And from pretty legendary country, raised up in Nye County, Nevada, which borders Elko County. And in the time that he was growing up, that was the Wild West out there. Yeah. And you lived out there.
I did.
Yeah. And so want to bring on your other brother from another mother. This is Riley Manzonie of Currant Creek Outfitters, coming from Elko, Nevada today. But a Nevada legend, Riley Manzonie. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Riley's one of my dearest friends. We've been friends a long time. In fact, I shot my first buck on his uncle's place in Railroad Valley.
Man.
In 1988.
That's a while ago.
Were you there? You can verify this story.
I actually wasn't there. And back then, we didn't have no trespassing signs, so it was good to go.
That's how that worked. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure he had permission. My uncle was a good guy.
His uncle and his dad were hauling water to the rigs down there. My dad was on one of the rigs, and that's how we got permission to go shoot the deer.
Wow.
That was outside of Ely, Nevada? Or?
Yeah, that's that's, what would that be, Riley? Southeast, I guess?
Yeah, Railroad Valley, 53 miles south of Ely there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But Riley and I have been on many hunts. We've, I've learned as much about hunting and glassing and gear and everything from Riley. You know, Riley taught me really how to be a trophy hunter. Before that, I was and Riley was hunted with me, and we've shot a lot of game hunting in dark timber, shooting whatever had antlers. And when we were young, we had a lot of fun together. And Riley used to be an insurance salesman. And
I did insurance for about 15 years up there in Elko. But yeah.
Our first hunting trip, he come out to hunt with another buddy of ours, Harlan McElroy Jr., and we was riding out with a pack string, and that pack string, you remember that pulled that tree over on top of me, and it broke across my head. And he's like, "You need to buy life insurance before we get out of here?"
Yeah.
I think he did have a policy, too. Wasn't long after that, that's
It
for
wasn't
sure.
very long after I did, yeah.
Yeah, I can still remember that big old pack horse hitting that tree. Boy, it wasn't too far from your head.
But back in them days, we used to have fun. We used to race, like, in the dark, at night, through deadfall. Last one to camp is a rotten egg.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of guys that could have kept up with us back then. That's for sure. I remember seeing a canteen come off of a horse, came up and hit one of our friends right upside the head, and we just kept on going.
Yeah, early one morning we topped the ridge, Mount Lightning, and it was in the dark still, and Riley, my horse, threw a shoe. We was a high lope when we went over top of
That shoe come flying by my head. I had to start thinking about my own life insurance.
We had a lot of fun, though.
Yeah. Growing up in Nye County, Nevada, Ely, that's when you did. It's still pretty wild country. Bunch of wild characters out there. A lot of buckaroos in the Great Basin country, and
for sure. Yeah. You had to depend on yourself out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was right off the side of Nellis Air Force Base, so we got to see a lot of the jets and big tankers coming off the mountains, and we'd actually go gather cattle up over on the base and have to stop in the little guard shack and tell them we were entering. And I mean, yeah, it was a neat place to grow up for sure. Long ways from anywhere.
They make you get off your horse when you get to the guard shack?
The only time they made us get off our horse when they were bringing something by on some semis, and they didn't want us to see what was on it. They just told us to lay face down and drove by us.
Yeah. But obviously awesome hunting country, big bull elk and trophy mule deer, and there's a bunch of big old antelope out there too on that flat.
Yeah, there are definitely some trophy class animals out in that southern part there for sure. So.
And I've been over there to is it Idaho? I forget what the little town is.
Right on the Utah border there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Indian reservation.
And I realized, what wild, tough country that was when I met the folks that came out to a little concert there in Idaho. A lot of them came up from Ely, in that country. But
yeah, those are some neat guys out there. They actually have an outfitting business on the reservation, and they take some big animals off of there too, backside of Blue Mass and all that.
Yeah. So who was your early influence? Who got you into the hunting and outfitting?
Nobody. I honestly taught myself how to hunt other than what I built. Like Jesse and I, when we were hunting the Uintas back in the early 90s and stuff. And I mean, it was tough to fill a tag back in there, but if anybody could have done it, we did it. And but as far as getting me into the outfitting business, I knew a couple of guides and went with them on a few trips and stuff like that, but didn't work for them. Just went along as a helper, so to speak, and then thought it was something that I had a knack for, and just kind of took it from there, Brenn, and built on it over the years with Jess and some other guys.
Yeah.
And just learned the ins and outs. And as I progressed in the outfitting business, I just started taking all the things that I thought would make my business successful. And I mean, I go on guided hunts even to this day. In fact, we're getting ready to go here in a couple of weeks. Yeah. And I'll take stuff that from other outfitting businesses that really work, and I'll bring them back into my business. And then things that don't work, just the opposite. You know, things that we didn't like here or there or whatever, we, just tried to keep them from popping up in our business. So
yeah, what works for you? What is I mean, you took the GI doc, my lifelong buddy, on an elk hunt, and he still talks about it to this day. I think it was the time and attention that you spent with him in trying to fill a trophy elk tag, and that's what made an impression upon him. You were really dedicated.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he's such a great guy too. Yeah. Just fun guy to be around. And I mean, he has struggles in life that you'll never know because he will never talk about them unless you ask him.
Yeah.
But just a genuinely nice guy and happy-go-lucky. But yeah, had a great hunt with him. Some of the things that, I've acquired over the years, I think we've taken over 1,000 clients in 28 years of guiding.
Wow.
And man, I'll tell you, I've developed some of the best friendships with these guys. And you get on a personal level with somebody out there after a few days. Most experiences are just over the top. They're really good. And you get to see people's dreams being fulfilled out there all the time. I mean, same guys coming back over and over, and just, even if they go home with a tag in their pocket, man, they're ready to come back. Yeah. And, so just building these relationships and friendships and putting everything you can into it. And I can't even tell you the number of times over the years I've heard a hunter say, I've never seen anybody work that hard. In all lines of business I've ever done, I've never seen people put out that much effort. And who's looking over us? No one. It's us looking over ourselves. Yeah. We know that if we're going to be successful, we've got to get out there and do everything we can to make it work. So. Yeah.
And I know as a from guiding hunters, the times that are hard, you got to love it. You got to love the sport. You got to love the culture. Got to love the reasons you're there, and so you must love hunting.
Yeah, there's a spot in my soul that was. I did one of those you, me 23 things, and I think it kind of pointed towards the people, the caveman era. I have a lot of that blood in me somehow.
So what point in life were you at that you realized, man, that's that's what it is, and you went after it.
I'll tell you what. I had a dream in high school going to Alaska, and I had some friends that were like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do it too." And there was two of us that actually went and did it. And as soon as high school was out, I made a little money in the oil fields and loaded up my truck and moved to Alaska because that was the last frontier. And by God, I wanted to see it and see what it was about. And just going and doing things like that. And I mean, all aspects of it. I commercial fished, I hunted, I just really enjoyed Alaska. Never thought I'd ever leave Alaska. Prior to that, it was hunting mule deer in Nevada. We didn't have elk back in those days, or if we did, it was very limited. I mean, very rare sighting. But I ended up getting a hound in 1988. Ever since then, I've had a hound. Went to college, had a hound living with me in my apartment. I mean, I would go hunt lions on my, after school or after work or whatever. But yeah, it's always been a part of me hunting for sure.
Where'd you live in Alaska?
So I moved up to Fairbanks, Alaska, and started out up there. And then I commercial fished down in Prince William Sound for about 4 summers down there. And but yeah, pretty much those two areas.
For folks that have been to Alaska and specifically Fairbanks, when you say I moved to Fairbanks, that's a lot. Because, I remember, when I was at Fairbanks, there was the biggest bull moose I've ever seen in the middle of downtown, just walking down the street, and bears everywhere and mosquitoes, and it just felt wild. It just felt like a primitive place.
There's a different temperament to living in interior Alaska. Yeah. I mean, you really have to want it because the daylight hours are short. You don't walk outside without something covering your ears in the wintertime. Summer times are just amazing. I mean, 24 hours of sun and 9 million mosquitoes. And but yeah, we had moose come right up to the porch and sticking their head over the porch, right in the yard or whatever. And then wall-to-wall trees. That's not something a desert boy from Nevada's used to.
No.
You couldn't see more than 100 yards. You had neighbors all around you and couldn't even see a house. It was pretty neat. So. Yeah,
completely opposite of the Great Basin country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I know we both love. So you got into the hound hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And late 80s, early 90s, that was still a time when there's a bunch of lions around and not too many guys really hound hunting.
That is true. Yeah, there were a lot fewer, it seemed like, back then. Seems like there's still quite a few lions. Just in the last couple of weeks, we went out and caught 5 or 6 just dry dirt hunting.
Yeah. And you're still hunting lions all winter with clients?
Yep.
Yeah. What is the deal with tags, getting lion tags in Nevada? I'm just not familiar with that.
So in Nevada, you can go to Walmart and buy 2 tags over the counter, 365-day season. I mean, They pretty much just opened it up for them. They still manage them. They still want you to bring them in and get a not CITES permit, but a seal on them so that they can take records and stuff like that in case the enviros ever come in to shut it down. We can say, no, we've killed this many and we're still getting these younger lions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, folks should do that with you. They should come hunting.
They should.
Yeah. You do that. You start probably, end of November?
We actually don't. And the only reason we don't is because we're still guiding, elk hunts and deer hunts and stuff like that. But we'll start in December. Hounds have been put away in a kennel for a couple months. So we got to get them out, go run a few cats and kind of get the dust blown off of them. And then, like I said, we're still out hunting. I mean, a lot of guys are putting their dogs away because of the spring weather. It makes it difficult. But, man, I'll tell you what, we're still having a great time and still putting cats up. So,
what kind of hound dogs you like to run?
I've run walkers for the last several years, quite a bit. But I started out with blue ticks and my dad, he actually had a couple of hounds back in the day, and I had them as well at the same time. And then when he got out of the business, he gave me a couple of his or whatever. And so there's always some blue ticks in my pack, a lot of walkers. The other day I stepped over and got a plot. So I don't know. We're going to see how that rolls. But right now he's testing me because he's a puppy, but I have a lot of great aspirations for him in the future. So.
Yeah. The Bloodhound's got a little grit to them.
Exactly. And we're chasing bears a lot. In fact, I've been helping Jess. A lot of these bears we're chasing up there, they run with Adidas or Nikes on, so they can go pretty fast. But the old walkers will get them treed and they'll jump and take off again. So we figured if we threw a few plots in there, we might be able to keep them up a little longer. Something like that. So.
Yeah, bear hunting in that part of the world to get a tag. What's the deal with bear tags?
Obviously, in Idaho, it's an over-the-counter, which makes it so accessible for us.
Yeah.
In Nevada, I'm 14 years applying, still haven't drawn a tag. The cool thing about Nevada is if you do get a tag, you're after world-class bears. I mean, they're giants. You catch a sow and you're like, oh my God, that's a 400-pound boar, until you get under her and you're like, that is a big sow. Over in Idaho, you get a 300-pound boar. That's a pretty good sized boar.
Idaho,
But like I said, they're so much more accessible. You're not waiting years and years and years to draw these tags. So, and I've been hunting Idaho for about 15 years, going up there. And
he's been hunting Idaho longer than I've been hunting Idaho.
I don't know how many bears we've caught, but there's seasons when we'll put 30, 40 bears up a tree. Sometimes 4 or 5 a day, So.
What units in Idaho you like to go to?
I've been over with Jess chasing them around that Palisades country, and there's tons of bears in there. It's so awesome. The color phases are just amazing. We had Blondie Ridge last year, and it seemed like every bear on that ridge had blonde hair. And, that's something that every bear hunter desires, is going and seeing a blonde bear. But there was a lot of big reds, and every now and then you'd see a black bear, but Idaho's known for its color phase. So.
I grew up hunting in 32A, and they closed that for 20 years, did a bear study, and then opened it as a controlled hunt. In fact, the GI doc, and I went up there, he drew the tag. He draws tags. You probably know that about him, but he had the tag the last year before they opened that to hound hunting, which I believe was the fall of 2021. And, at that time, it was the largest concentration of color phase bears in the lower 48. And I believe the highest per square mile density of bears in the lower 48 in those two units. And, of course, been fairly marauded now. But, when you talk about color phase bears in Idaho, it just, that's where they are.
It is. To see a black bear, like, holy cow.
Yeah.
In fact, when you said that bear over there, Jess, was Alaska, I'm like, I bet it is. It looks just like one of those Alaska bears. Yeah,
that's an Alaska bear there. But, a lot of them up there, we get blondes and reds, and like you said, brown, chocolates. Like, they're just all different colors.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Idaho.
Yep. Nevada, for me, it's Elko County. I go to the cowboy poetry gathering there. That's been a big part of my life, and yet I look at those Ruby Mountains, and the you cross through the Pequot. I just always thinking, man, I wish I'd put some focus on hunting in Nevada. It just seems like a bit of a paradise there.
It's definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
Just because I've spent so much time with Riley and I've killed so many trophies out there. Like just hunting with, a lot of adventures, Riley. I got a lot of memories there, whether it's the rubies or Pequot, like all over the Shell Creeks, and I love hunting Nevada. And growing up down there, I went to school there for a long time too, so I have some deep roots to Ely and that area too. But
it's changed a lot, over the last even 5 years. It really has, and that's why I was so glad when Jess called and told me about some of these permits he's acquired. I was just like, man, I'm ready. I mean, it's, we're normally taking 30 deer hunts a year in Nevada, and the deer numbers across the West have obviously gone down population-wise, but trophy class and everything else. And it's getting harder to draw tags because they're giving out fewer tags. And then we kind of catered to the trophy hunters. And for obvious reasons, we had areas that had those trophy animals. And over the last several years, you're really struggling to find those bigger class animals, Last year, I think the biggest buck we killed was 192, 194, somewhere right in there. And that was a godsend, just because we hadn't been seeing those bigger bucks. And hopefully they do come back. Yeah. But it's definitely changed a lot. Jess got to hunt it back in the day when, he killed a one of the biggest bucks we've ever killed. And I wish we'd had a scale to stick that buck on.
Yeah.
It was a 30-something inch 2-point, which who cares? I mean, it was actually cool in of itself that it was a 2-point, but what a giant 300+ pound mule deer.
Yeah, and Riley was we were hunting the rubies, just sitting back to back, like literally back to back. And Riley's like, "You got to see the size of this deuce." And he got to lead forward, and I looked through his spot scope. I'm like, "Let's kill it." And we went up and killed it. And Riley and I have always said, when the opportunity presented to us, we would go get it done. And when Riley and I hunt together, there's something big gonna die.
I told Savannah that too today. I said, "Man, when you just hunt together, shit dies."
That's we talk about successful hunting partners, and growing up, I think about hunting with my dad. I got my older brother, and I've had some friendships, and that's just. It doesn't matter who has the tag. If I have the tag, he has the tag, whatever, we both have them. If we go in the woods, we know what each other's thinking. And it sounds like you guys are kind of on the same wavelength maybe when you get in the woods. And
that's a big part of success.
I spent so much time with Riley, like this new area in Wyoming. Him and I had this conversation the other day, because a lot of the guys haven't had the opportunities to hunt some of the rough grizzly bear. Like him and I, we slept underneath a bear den for 7 days within 700 yards of and the bear would stick its head out, like we've been right in them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure when we got that bear killed, it was 100 yards from our tent door.
And that's one of my fondest stories is, Riley and I go up there, we got to go up bear hunting together, and man, we had so much fun. And, we were snowshoeing with hip boots on.
Yeah.
Crossing the rivers with snowshoes on.
And waders.
We were younger and it was tough, but we had a lot of fun. But where I'm going with that, is in this new country, the Tetons and the Gros Ventres, the bears aren't any meaner than they are in the Tetons.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world. The grizzly bears are rough. And, Riley's somebody that can handle that. When a lot of the other guys, we've got to make sure that we don't get somebody hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we don't get bit because it takes a different skill set. Not that they're not great hunters and they're great packers and stuff, but that grizzly bear adds a whole nother
it's another
element.
Yeah, it changes the dynamic of it.
Whole thing.
Yeah.
And then hunting wilderness, because there's no generators, there's no chainsaws. And Riley and I hunted the wilderness for a long, long time, so we understand that. So, I depend on Riley a lot because he can handle whatever comes his way.
Yeah.
Yep. And the same, Riley used to he'd be somewhere hunting in Nevada and he'd call me, I'd get off work on a rig and go out and I'd take a hunter for him, and because you didn't have to worry about it,
Yeah.
You just do it, and then everybody left happy, and it's hard to find that a lot now.
Amen. Yeah.
Because we have to train them. Riley's daughter, she guides for me, and she's 18. Like I got her guide license last year, and she, I was telling somebody the story earlier. She got up there the day she got there. I said, "Well, I need you to get online and take your first aid card." And she's like, "Oh, well, how come?" I said, "Because I'm going to get you a guide license. You're going to get a deer hunter in the morning." And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "You've been hunting deer with your dad for 18 years. Just remember everything he taught you. You'll be fine." She went right out there and found deer.
That's awesome. Yeah.
She's definitely capable.
She is very capable. I depend on her a lot.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
What would be a strategy if you had somebody who wanted to hunt Nevada? Where do they start?
Basically, you get a feel for what their objectives are. What are they looking for? What are their abilities? What's going to make them come out of this hunt and be, wanting to come back? And so you just ask the questions, and everybody's going to have a different idea on what their hunt looks like, and it's the same with anywhere you go, any outfitter. Hopefully they're asking those questions so they can get that hunt set up, because I can have 4 guys show up for a hunt, and every one of them has a different objective. this is what I look at as a trophy. This is my abilities to get around. This is how far I can shoot. This is perfect example. Last year we had one guy shoot a buck at 745 yards. His dad shot his at 1,500 yards. The other guy that was in there kind of hunting the same area with him with a different guide, 300 was max. And so you've really got to get a feel for all of these things. And then you can kind of put this hunt together to try and make it successful and have them come out the other end happy. So
when is the application period in Nevada?
So it just opened up a couple days ago, and right now hunters are putting in, and they have a month to put in, and then we find out right around the beginning of May whether or not they drew tags, and then we kind of get them set up. Goes to like the middle of April? Yeah, I usually tell them tax day, but it's right around there. So. Yeah. And how does the bonus point system work in Nevada? Nevada's a lottery state. I mean, you can have 100 bonus points, and I mean, that person that puts in their first year draws the tag. And I'm sitting on a couple species right now with 30 points. My son put in, second year he put in, he drew one of them. And, so bonus points supposedly help you, but at the end of the day, it's just how lucky you are at drawing a real low number to get put in for whatever tags. One good thing Nevada does is they go through all 5 choices. And a lot of these states will go through your first choice. That's it, like Utah. And then, so you kind of put your dream tags first, second, maybe third, and then put your easier to get tags later on down the line. And you're going to lose your bonus points if you draw one of those easier tags, but a lot of guys don't care. They just want to come and hunt. And some of the easiest to draw tags, we kill the biggest bucks out of them, or biggest bulls out of them. It's just the way it is. But there's some species in Nevada that might take you 15 years to draw, but then again, you might be one of those lucky people that draw it your first or second year. So, what units do you hunt in? We are very fortunate in that we have 5 Forest Service permits, and that allows us to go, almost the whole state. There's a couple areas that we cannot hunt because of Forest Service. We can hunt statewide BLM, but most of our animals live on Forest Service areas. And so you kind of have to have that permit in order to take people in there. And we do have some pretty prestigious permits that not very many other outfitters are able to go. And that's one of the things when a hunter calls me up and tells me what he's looking for, I have all these different choices. And you get some outfitters, they have one or none, but one area, and that's all they're going to put you in for because that's the area that they have. And with us, I have an area, the gentleman's hunt, and Jesse knows right where that is. And it's an elk area that tends to have some monster bulls in it. Big bulls. But there's another area down by Ely that you better have your hiking shoes on and be in damn good shape to get up to those bulls because they're going to be top of the shell creeks or blue mass or, some hard to get areas. But with that said, we can take people in the whole eastern half of the state, and then obviously some areas over on the west side too, but most of them are on the cut Nevada in half and the whole eastern side. So, what I assume about Nevada, I haven't hunted Nevada, but traveled through all of that country so much, is that you've got such a range of terrain. The Rubies is just as rocky mountain as it gets. Those are 11,000 foot peaks up there, and 10,000 foot basins that you'd be hunting high country mule deer in. And then, in those sagebrush flats, you might find a big old deer too. So there's probably just so much of a range, and everywhere in between. There are, for sure. And that probably helps with different, abilities and maybe hunters that can't get around quite so much. You probably got options as well. We do, yeah, and that's why I said ask the questions ahead of time because you don't want to drag somebody up into the Rubies. I've had guys quit me on day one. Get us off of here, and you just spend all that time packing up and up into the mountain, and now you're packing back off because you're going to go hunt low stuff. So Well,
some of that country, when you're driving down the road in Nevada, you thinking, there's nothing living out here, and there's some of the biggest bucks. You used to be anyway. And elk, you drive over the Pequops, you think, right off the road.
Were you with, you shot that 400-inch bull?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was your muzzleloader.
Yeah.
And you guys were hunting together?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think these folks need to know that story. I mean, that's one of the biggest bulls I've ever seen.
Yeah, Riley killed one up there last year that's bigger than that one.
Yeah, we broke the 400 in an area that just, man, I wasn't sure that area had anything bigger than 350 in it. It was pretty tough, and then he just come pushing cows over the hill. I don't know where he came from, but I know whose pickup he went home in.
And that's the same thing that happened with mine, you know. I got the tag, and Riley told me which area to get, and I went ahead and got a tag, and Mark got a tag too. So Mark was with us, and we went up there, and we went out camping. We had Riley's wife and the kids, and we was all out there. It was fun. And we hunted for a couple days, and we was seeing bulls, you know. It just wasn't nothing big enough. We were hunting with a muzzleloader, and of course you got to use iron sights, open sights, you know. And we went down this canyon, and Riley went one way, and Mark and I went another way. We just, you know, go from basin to basin and glass, and it was in the morning, and I was looking at some bulls over here, and I just happened to look up, and here comes the same thing. This bull chasing these cows over the top, and I as soon as I seen him, I knew, you know. I'm like, Riley, I hollered at Riley on the inreach, showed me, you need to come up here and look at this bull, and he pushed them cows down into a quakey patch, and Riley come up, and we sat down there next to the side-by-side and looked at him, and Riley's like, yeah.
That was our target bull. One of my really good friends had sent me pictures of that bull, and we were looking for him but couldn't find him. And actually, he was really close to where he took the picture.
Right.
Yeah, it was amazing that it all ended up in that one canyon.
So I went all the way. Riley stayed right there all day, and I went all the way around. Mark was he wanted to go, but he went off with the other guys that we had with us hunting some of the bulls, and I went around, come over the top, walked through a rattlesnake pit. Didn't know it was a rattlesnake pit, but it was. Those guides, when they come down after I shot the bull, had seen like 4 different rattlesnakes on their way down. I didn't. I was like headed for. Anyway, I stalked down over the top and got down and got within range. And me and Riley are back and forth on the inReach because I don't even know. I lost my phone trying to text on this little inReach screen. You know,
about Jesse losing his phone. I don't know.
Hey, when things happen, you just got to overcome them.
I didn't even care about that phone. Anyway, the bull come out, and he come come right up, followed a cow up, stood broadside, and I shot him at 440 yards with a muzzleloader.
Yeah.
3 times.
Rolled him down the mountain.
Yeah.
Then Riley was the first one to me, like always, like it was a foot race. And he got up there, and then the other guys kind of straggled in, and we got him set up and took a bunch of pictures. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning when we got him back to the truck, and it was probably 800 yards. It was the hardest pack out I've ever done in my life.
I've been driving by there lately, and I still look up that canyon and think, no, never again. I'm going to wait till they hit the bottom, and then we're going to shoot them.
You know, I shot another big bull with Riley one time. You was hunting too, weren't you? That one up.
Yeah,
you was hunting too. You had Joel with you, right?
Yeah, I don't know which one you're going to shoot, but I know which one I'm going to shoot.
We both had tags, and I had another kid with us that was hunting. He actually killed a governor's bull with Riley.
Yep.
Like 2 years later, killed what was that, 396? 6x6. Big old 6x6. And I had my cousin Michael. He's passed away since, but we was all up on top of what we Riley called the perch. We always go up there and glass, and sure enough, I was glassing, and I found this bull out in this, just burnt, like it was just that year burnt. And I would grab my stuff and stuffing it down my pack, and them WD and Mike were like, "Where you going?" I'm like, "I'm going after this bull." And it was like getting dark, and I haul butt back to the four-wheeler, and I get on the four-wheeler, and I go smoking around, I'm sliding around corners, drifting corners on the brute force. I get up there, and I head up, and I have to close the distance. I get 550 yards of this thing, and Riley's driving back, and I get on the radio, and I said, "I'm going to shoot this bull. Say hello to my little friend."
Yeah. I looked at Joel. I go, "He's serious." I thought he was messing with me, but he did kill a whopper 6-point bull. That was a beast.
Yeah. Jesse's a real deal trophy hunter.
It was fun.
You know, the thing I think about northern Nevada, especially northeast Nevada, is Jesse talks about looking at it thinking there's nothing there, but it's just huge country. And I'm staying there at the the Wine Cup a few times, and been around Elko and that, and it is just big country, and I hear about the stories of the Nevada buckaroos, and they got to have 3 horses a day to ride those big circles out there, and it's big country. It's huge.
It is.
Yeah, and you grew up in the biggest of it.
Yeah.
Biggest part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Just ranches down there with 3,000-4,000 head of cows and as much country as you could ride in days. It'd take us a month just to round up cattle for one of our neighbors down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you spend a whole month every day. Just
how has that changed with because obviously when I started going out there's still guys walking around Elko, coming into town to spend their wages, in the the high top boots, and they got silver dollar rowels on their spurs, and some of them still wearing leather cuff protectors and stuff like that, and the flat hat. I mean, you see a buckaroo and all the silver and just the adornment of these guys. It was just a different kind of like going back in time, but it's sure changed. It's a mining town now in Elko, and different corporate probably ranch owners. How's that changed does that have an effect on the hunting?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, there's some of the mines they've shut off a lot of country, and some of them still let you access, some of theirs. Some of the other ranches, like you said, big corporations own them now, and they might own 20 places. And it's, you just really have to watch where you're going. And we've always been pretty lucky in Nevada where it's 90% public land. A lot of these other states, it's exact opposite, 90% private land. Mm-hmm. And so, it definitely has changed the way that we do things, but it's still a very viable hunt situation where, you don't have to go on those private places. If you go in and you get access, great. That's awesome, but very seldom do we do that. We're almost always on public land. A lot of people ask me, do you have any ranches tied up? And it's like, no, but we don't need them. Yeah. We've got a lot of public land out here. And we do have some places where the landowners let us, go shoot an elk on their property or an antelope or whatever. Yeah. But it just comes down to creating those friendships and stuff like that. So,
folks want to hunt with you. Are you full for years? Have you got?
You can't be in Nevada. Yeah. And it's a draw-only state, so you don't know who your clients are going to be next year. It just depends on who got lucky and drew the tags. And
me.
And that's it.
Jesse draws tags also.
Jesse, he'll be right up there, I'm sure.
Good client to have here.
Oh, yeah.
He draws tags, and then giant critters sort of just walk out in front of him.
Well, it'll be reminiscent for sure. He and I, we have a lot of good times on our hunts, and whatever tags we draw or whatever. And yeah, I think that's why a lot of the hunters have fun with us, sitting around listening to the stories that we have to tell. So,
well, dang it, one year I'm going to draw a tag in Nevada. I'm going to go hunting with both you guys.
Actually, Callie's already called it. She's guiding you. She is so big into country music.
I would choose her anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We'll just be the peons. We'll be the packers.
We'll be spotters.
Yeah.
You could use it. You could use Riley's the best spotter there is in the country. So,
Deal. Well, I have a special place in my heart for houndsmen because my cousin is one, and he's kind of one of my heroes. He's like a brother to me, and he started hunting lions in this state with some of the original lion hunting characters around here, and so I just happen to have this sort of cowboy lion hunting poem that I would probably be happy to lay on you guys.
Man, I love that one.
Yeah.
Brenn, that is a great one. That's what I think. Yep, exactly. That
Me
fits
too.
Riley to a T.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's called Cottonwood. Around the rim on Cottonwood, there stands a cedar shack and a pole corral to pen a bronc and a shed to hang your cack beneath a peak of lodge poles and between an aspen stand and behind the crest of cedars that stretch the broken land between the sage and the timber, where cattle often hide, and where I ride to each December to curl up inside and look up at windy peaks and feel the fires glow, and then trot out through the morning crusted winter snow where around the rim of Cottonwood a brand new lion track dots a line up through the draw, slowly circles back. where somewhere in the bitter night he drifted like a spirit, and beyond the realm of vision. Not eye nor horse could hear it, but yet the proof that there he crept, cut fresh into the snow. And still I shiver at the thought of where and why he goes around the rim on Cottonwood, where deep the canyon cuts into the mountain's very bowels, its twisted, winding guts, frozen rivers down below, warm springs on the hill, at -17 and more. The water's running still. And running deep are shadows now, for day does not stay long. Soon a full moon rises high, and I hear the song of one lone coyote singing farewell to the sun, sending out a call that finally evening time has come around the rim on Cottonwood. My fire's burning down, my cabin warm, my ride was good, and sleep is sweet and sound.
It's a good thing my wife gave me a haircut today. You guys can see the hair standing up on the back of my neck.
That
Is a good one.
Yeah.
Folks, if you want to go hunting with Riley Manzonie, and I recommend it, find out all you need to know about hunting in Nevada, one of the greatest states in the West. Go to www.currantcreekoutfitters.net. That's CURRANT, creekoutfitters.net. Drop Riley a line. He'd be happy to help you get started on your journey to hunt the Great Basin country of northern Nevada, and maybe you'd even be hunting bears in Idaho.
Yeah.
Yeah, with kind of a team effort here with Saddlehorn Outfitters. You can go to saddlehornoutfitters.com, learn how you can hunt with Jesse and his crew, and I recommend that as well. Yeah.
And you can go to In the Wild Outdoors and apply for your raffle. You know, buy your raffle tickets. We're giving away some other hunts. Got an archery hunt this fall. We got a spring bear hunt, but we're getting ready to draw that. The archery hunt is going to be for this fall, and then we got another spring bear hunt for next year they can buy tickets for, and then a rifle elk hunt for Nevada for 2026.
Yep, that's inthewildoutdoors.com. We are In the Wild Outdoors YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe to us and share our channel with all your hunting buddies. And drop us a line, give us a story, tell us if you know somebody you'd like us to talk to on this show. We love to meet characters. Thank you once again. Thank you, Riley Manzonie and your beautiful family, for coming over from Elko, Nevada. Again, currantcreekoutfitters.net. And we'll see you next time with Brenn and Jesse on In the Wild Outdoors.
See ya.